So for the past like I want to say fortnight, I've been customizing my Lem init. Okay, so let's look at that. Basically, I had an init with Lem and it was pretty good. It was decent. But then when I tried to switch over change operating systems, I totally forgot about the stuff that was on the Linux side of things because I use WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux, and then I I forgot about all that stuff and I lost my Lem init, which was pretty sad. But anyway, okay, so hold on a second. So I'm loading. Actually, hold on a second. Let me. I already messed things up. Let me exit out of this and explain to you what I'm doing. So I just opened up Scratch 7, a file, and my init really hasn't been loaded, not yet. So I'm gonna load it. I'm gonna do evaluate function, Control X, Control E, and notice that some things have changed. Actually, hold on a second. Let me just do that again. Sorry about this. Because a lot's going on. It's kind of like invisible. All right. So let's just look at some things right now. What I'm gonna do is load my init in this folder. I like loading it like this because I might want to load a different init to see different things. Basically, what I'm doing, uh, let's just okay. So like, look at the mode line. If you look at the mode line, look at the name of the file, Scratch 7 Lisp. That's gonna change. I'm gonna pull that to the left. And then the mode line, the mode that I'm in, which is Lisp, will change. And then the colors will change a little bit in the mode line. Okay. And also, I'll have line numbers on the left. So I'm going to evaluate, Control X, Control E. And this is a thing with Common Lisp. It's kind of a weird thing. It's like a different it's like a strange kind of language. I mean, I'm not used to it because I'm used to eLisp. But basically, what's going on is it warns you if you do something wrong. So here, I'm gonna continue. It's giving me a warning. It says Lisp mode is already defined in another file. So it gives me warnings. I'm just gonna ignore them and continue. Fundamental mode is already defined. And so basically I just hit 0 to continue. And now I've loaded my init. So that I have line numbers, relative line numbers on the left side, which I like because like for example, it allows me to navigate easier. So for example, like line 9. If you look at line 9, there's a T for true. So I'm going to hit meta N, meta 9, and then meta M, and I can go to the T. I like having those relative line numbers because I like prefixing my commands a lot. All right. So let's check out some things that I've changed. I'm still not there like 100%. I'm only like 1/5 of the way there. But we can just look at it for now. So I'm going to open up the folder. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the things that I've changed. All right, so the first thing I did was have a section with import packages because this is a common Lisp thing. I was not used to this. I had never seen something like this in eLisp. We don't really have packages. We don't. I mean, not the way that Common Lisp does. Like for example, this is really helpful with namespacing functions. Like if you have one function that's get time, you could have you could have different packages with the same name of that function. So depending on the package that you call, you would be using the function from that package. So I was trying to do that. I was trying to like load a whole bunch of packages, but it turns out it wasn't really doing anything because I'm still a beginner with Common Lisp. So anyway, I just commented that out and didn't really need it. Okay, the other thing that's super cool about Lem is that you can load. Wait a second, what did I do? Oh, yes. Now I remember. Because I've been changing the keybinds. So basically, what's super cool about Lem is that you can load the source code of Lisp. So here I'm loading the source code of Common Lisp, SBCL, Steel Bank Common Lisp. I downloaded it from the website. I decompressed it and then I put it in a location. Here I put it in home.downloads SBCL. And this is useful because, like for example, let's go back. If for example, let's go to the word if. I'm gonna look up the definition for if with meta period, and it sends me to if. It sends me to the source code of if, which I'd never seen before. Because for example, if I'm using GNU Emacs, let's just look at that. If I try to look up the definition in GNU Emacs, I'm sent to the C source file because a lot of GNU Emacs, basically the most important functions, are all written in C. But that's not the case with Lem. Lem is pure Lisp. So everything is written in Lisp, and I can see the source code for everything. So I can see the source code for these functions like if, prog, cond, all of those things. The plus sign, for example, like you can't really do that. You can't really do that in GNU Emacs. I mean, you can of course run the thing, no doubt about it. But if I'm going to look up the definition, I get sent to the C source, which does me no good. Number one, because I don't know C. I'm not an expert at C. I know like what I've written in C is very little. But with Lisp, with Lem, that doesn't happen. So that's why I run that. That's why I have this section. I set the source code for SBCL. Okay. So another thing that I've done, for some reason I'm always accidentally closing Lem and GNU Emacs. I'm always closing out of those programs because I routinely hit CC Control C on accident. So basically I just turn that into nil. If I do Control X Control C, then it's just nil. It doesn't do anything. For me to exit Lem, I would have to write exit and then exit lem. I'm not going to do that. And I've done the same thing with GNU Emacs. CX, CC is undefined. If I'm going to exit out of it, then I'll write kill Emacs, for instance. I'm not going to do it, but I'm always accidentally setting off that keybind. So another thing that I've done is there's this weird bug where Alt Control X doesn't work. Or excuse me, Control Meta X doesn't work. It definitely works in Lem, and it definitely works in Minty, the terminal that I'm using. But for some reason, when I'm using this combination of programs, Minty, Tmux, Lem, it doesn't work. Whoops, hold on. So for example, if the reason I would do this, so this is Control Meta X, and I get the evaluation 20. And that's a super common keybind, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work because I don't know, this combination of programs doesn't let me do it. I have tested it in Lem and it works fine. Same thing in Minty, same thing in the programs that I'm using, Tmux. But for some reason, when I'm using these programs together, it doesn't work in Lem. Like in Minty, WSL, Tmux, Lem, that's like it's like a weird bug. If I had to guess, well, I'm not even gonna guess. I don't know how to get to it. Okay, so anyway, I had to change that. So instead of having to hit Control Meta X, I've made it so that it's Control CX, but in my Tmux configuration, I translate Control Meta X to be Control CX. So basically, I'm hitting Control Meta X to evaluate the function, but Lem sees Control CX and it evaluates the function. So it's a weird bug. If you don't understand it, you probably won't have to worry about that. So another thing that I've done is I've changed the movement commands a little bit, like just slightly. If you're joining the chat or if you're joining the stream, hi, how are you? I'm glad you could join. It's some basic stuff with Lem. Nothing too advanced. I am a common list beginner, complete beginner. Okay. So, movement commands. One thing that I really like is moving by logical line. So, for example, if I'm gonna go down to line 15 relative to where I am. If I hit next line, I'm gonna go to the real line, right? Like if in default Lem and default GNU Emacs, if I hit Control N, I'll go to aux, and I really dislike that. Like I really dislike that. So I like moving via logical lines. Okay. So everything is logical lines, and the other thing that I've done is I've made it so a lot of these commands I can prefix. Because for example, meta m, which goes to the first character in the line, is usually not prefixable. As in, I can't apply a prefix to that meta m. That's extremely annoying. So for example, let me go to the first character on line -5 relative to where I am. So I hit meta subtract or meta minus, then 5, and now meta m. And I get to that line. So I've made it so that meta m is prefixable. And yeah, that's pretty much it for those kinds of things. Okay, and then for editing, I've also made some changes with some of the basic commands. So one thing that I've done since I created a server in FreeBSD, and the shell that they use in FreeBSD, I think it's 14, is the Bourne shell. And Control U in the Bourne shell basically just deletes the line. Like if I'm anywhere in the line and I hit Control U, it'll give me it'll give me it'll just delete the line. And I actually really like that command. So I've changed that to Control U. It says Control CU because basically what I'm doing is I'm doing the same. I didn't want to change Control U because I think it's very hard coded, so that it wasn't gonna work. So basically, what I've done is set up. Oh wait, hold on a second. Here, let me actually look at this. What have I done exactly? Oh yes, so for clear line, I've set it up to be Control CL. So I'm gonna do Control CL right now. Meta 2, Control CL, and it deletes it, clears those lines. And I've set that to Control CL, but tmux, when I hit Control U, tmux translates that to C to Control CL, and that's why I get clear line. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but that's an editing command that I really like. Instead of just basically, I'm trying to use the read line commands. I'm trying to use all the read line commands. Okay. So the other thing, oh whoops. The other thing that I've done is Control W. If you've ever used the bash shell or the Bourne shell or any of those shells, they use the read line commands, and Control W deletes the word. If I have a region set up, then it deletes it. It kills the region. But if I have no region like if the region isn't active, which I've just done like this, there you can see that it's active. Then it'll delete the whole. If I hit Control W, it'll delete the whole region. But if the region is not active, then it'll just delete the word. I like this very much. Very, very much. Just to be as close to the read line as possible. The other thing that I've done is I've set up kill whole line. So I'm gonna kill the line. Meta K and then L. I like that line. And I'm trying to create a key map on meta K. And then I actually had changed. Oh, whoops. I had remapped F3 and F4 to be macros because in GNU Emacs that's how it is. Let's look at that. Like if I want to record a macro, I hit F3. It says defining keyboard macro, and if I hit F3 again, then it'll give me it'll input the number that it's gonna start at 0 unless I change that. Then I'm gonna end the macro with F4. And then to replay the macro, I hit F4 again. And I really like that feature. But I decided against using that because I was using it for a few days. Because I wanted to see what F3 would be like in the default Lem. And default Lem uses F3. So for example, I'm going to show you what it does. So I'm going to search for Lem. Then I'm going to hit Control M for a graceful exit of in incremental search. And now if I hit F3, I will go through the search results. And if I hit Shift F3, then I'll go back. So I wanna test that out. Oh yeah, that's like a little bug. There's like a little bug with F3. I have to change that. Yeah, there's like a strange bug. You see, it's skipping 2. If I'm hitting Shift, it's skipping 2. There's something wrong with that's a bug that I have to fix. That we have to fix in the Lem world. Okay. And so I like that feature very, very much. Once I fix that F3, that Shift F3, it'll be a very cool feature. And I think that I'll be able to put the keyboard macro stuff on the Meta K key map. So I'll have it, the Meta K will be kill and K macro. That's what I think. So basically that's what's going on. All right, so let's go back. Okay, there we go. So those are the editing commands. The other thing that I've done is I've modified the window commands. So that meta N scrolls down and meta P scrolls up. I like those a lot. That's just a super. Those are super common in GNU Emacs. In the GNU Emacs world, people will use that very frequently. So I've done that with Lem as well. And then the aesthetics. Of course, aesthetics are huge for me. So I have line numbers, which I love. The thing with Lem is that since it's all Lisp, like everything, basically what I can do is change everything. I can't do that in GNU Emacs. For example, here, there's like, I don't know if you can see this, but look at the line numbers. There's like a lot of space on the left, and that's something that I can't change. Like it's just how it is. I'm always gonna have that space. I can't modify that space. It's always gonna have 2 extra spaces at the most. In Lem, I don't have that. I don't have any extra space. Look at the top and bottom, like where it says 12 and 11. 11 at the top and then 12 at the bottom. The line numbers on the left. There is no space to the left of that because I'm able to fix that. I can't do that in GNU Emacs because the line numbers are written in C. And so if I wanted to change that, I would have to like change the C code, which I don't know because I don't know C. Then I would have to compile it. And if you've ever compiled Emacs, you know what a major pain in the ass it is. It's very unfun. Extremely unfun. And then maybe I could get it wrong. Who knows what could happen. So it's just a pain. But in Lem, I don't have that problem. I can change things very, very easily. So I've made them relative and also made it so that it only takes the minimum space. I've made the current line 0 to help me. I like it that way. I changed the mode line colors to make everything extremely visible. And I've changed the multiplexer. Oh, the multiplexer is an extremely cool feature. If you look at the top, it looks like I have tabs. I have like tabs kind of. Like on the 0th tab, it's scratch 7. And on the first tab, tab 1, it's init.lisp. That's the multiplexer. So and then the multiplexer has its own key map, Control Z, which is extremely cool. So I'm gonna hit Control Z and then P, and that'll send me to the previous multiplexer, the previous frame, I should say. So Control Z, N, will give me to the next one. Control Z, C will create a new one. Control Z, D will delete the frame. And so basically I've changed the colors. The blue means that it's active. It's the active frame. And the dark gray means that the frame is not active. And I actually love that feature so much. It's super cool. I'm not really big into tabs, but I like that. I like that very much. Okay. The other thing that I've done is I've changed in the mode line, the Lisp mode will appear as a lambda. So if you look at my mode line, there's a blue character. It's a lambda that lets me know that I'm in Lisp. If I'm in the fundamental, it'll be like an F. I don't know what that character is called. I think it's like an F sharp. I'm not sure what it's called. But yeah. So I've changed the fundamental. So if it's fundamental, has that F. Oh, and the other thing that I've done that I really like is I've changed the pipe. I've changed the ending character. Look at 8. I'm going to go to, oh, whoops. Here. This is what I meant. If you look at this line, it extends to the very end and then wraps. That last character is a pipe. Usually it's a backslash, which I don't like. I like the pipe. I like having that pipe makes things look better. So I've changed that. Okay, so that's it for aesthetics. Looks very nice. If you want to set your theme in Lem, you would write, okay, so you would do meta X and then theme and then list color themes. And I'm using Gruber. You can change the theme to Emacs Dark. This is what Emacs Dark looks like. It's pretty nice, but I like Gruber. Okay. And then search commands. Okay, so let's look at that. Basically, I've set it up so that the meta S, I've given more commands to the meta S key map. Meta S, and then open angle bracket will start a search from the beginning of the buffer. Meta S, the search key map, and then close angle bracket will start a search from the end. And another feature that I like is that if I hit meta S, search key map, and then L, it'll search for the whole line. That's what I've been doing. So let's look at that. Let's go to the SBCL. I'm going to hit meta S and then L. And it'll search for that exact line. That's very cool. So F3, let's look at F3. Super cool. It'll send me right back to this one. And so that's what I've done. That's pretty much what I've done. I think, yeah. And I guess I didn't mention some stuff. Like let's go back to the search commands. If you look at the search commands, okay, so let's look at here. In this line, because like I said, I'm like a beginner with Common Lisp. Look how I've written the mapping of the command. I wrote lem and then a colon define key, because this lets Lisp SBCL know that define key is coming from the lem package. It's coming from the same thing with global key map. That is part of the lem package. And so I've explicitly stated that. But if I write in package like this, I don't actually have to do it. I can just write define. I don't really have to namespace it and write lem colon as long as I call a package. I didn't know that. It's because Common Lisp is so alien to me. I'm such a beginner with Common Lisp that I was putting lem for everything, but the truth is I actually didn't really need it. So I'm still trying to figure out the whole packages stuff. But this is super, super cool. Check this out. If I go to the previous line, look at my mode line. It says lem core because I'm basically calling lem core. I'm in package lem core. If I'm underneath that in package function, then it'll show up in my mode line that I'm calling from the package lem core. This is something that I realized very recently, like a few days ago. If I'm underneath that package, everything that I call will be from lem core, which is super cool. So and then if I'm in a different in package, if I go after it, look at the bottom. It says lemcore slash command slash edit. So just having that line lets me call into the right package, the package that I want. I don't even have to evaluate it. I just move my point and it'll update. It'll let me know which package I'm calling into. That's extremely cool. I didn't know that, and that's why the whole package thing is all very, very strange. Okay. So if you call the right package with the in package line, you won't necessarily have to use like lem colon for like and like explicitly state the package that you're calling from. Just use in package, and that it'll save you. It'll like help you. It lets SBCL know which package you're trying to call. I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, my apologies. I'm a complete beginner. Basically, what I'm gonna do is there's this book that's online, completely free, MIT license, and it's paradigms of artificial intelligence programming, case studies in Common Lisp. It's by Peter Norvig. You might recognize that name. An extremely famous and respected programmer. I think they're like a distinguished programmer for Google. They for sure they were like one of the top programmers at Google, like head of artificial intelligence, something like that. So Peter's extremely skilled, and he wrote this book in the 90s, and I from what I read, it was funded in part by the defense department. I want to say that there was a grant given to Norvig to write this book, and so eventually it was published online for free, and it has a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm gonna go through this book because I don't know Common Lisp. It's very, very different from eLisp, extremely different. It has some very nice commands. I can tell that it's incredibly powerful. Like, let's go back. It does things that, like, for example, let me go to minus, and I'm gonna go into the symbol. So I can basically, okay, what I'm doing. Okay, it's the same. I'm trying to look up the documentation, or going to the definite where it's defined in the source code, and there's a lot of stuff here. Like there are a lot of definitions, and it's like it's an alien thing to me. Like there's like def transform. I didn't even know these defs existed. Def transform, a whole bunch of different kinds of defs. So anyway, it's got a lot of interesting things to it. Namespaces. It's not dynamically bound like eLisp is, or like eLisp was for many years. A lot of interesting commands like string, first, things like that. Things that that I'd never seen before in eLisp. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to like show some stuff that I had done with Lem, very basic stuff, but stuff that could be very useful to you, like the source code and other things like that, the aesthetics and the packages, things that are completely alien to me. And I also wanted to mention that book because I feel like I can see how powerful it is. I can definitely feel how insane Common Lisp is. But of course I won't be able to tap into the full power until I read that book or some other text rego- about Common Lisp.